I'm Tash. I am a Forces child, a Forces wife and a Forces mum. I was born in Nottingham. We moved from there to Plymouth, then back to Malta for 2 years, where my mum had my brother, then to Lympstone. My mum refused any of my dad's postings because she liked it there, so my dad went off on his own. Well, I've got 3 children, all of them born in different countries. My son was born in Exeter, my daughter was born in Edinburgh, and my youngest was born in Germany, all due to the fact of moving around with the army. So none of them have got the same nationality or birthplace, but they've all been perfect postings. There's not been one posting that I've not liked. Being a military wife is like being a single mum. For a majority of the time, there was a 15-month period where Gez was home for 12 weeks, not consecutive 12 weeks, for 12 weeks in that 15 months. So you learn to do everything on your own. You're the mum, you're the dad, you're the comforter, you're the disciplinarian. You have to do everything because they're not there. You put your life on hold because you don't know where you're going to be in a year's time or 2 years' time if you get posted and you have to move again. So you can't have a career as a military wife unless you're prepared to be married unaccompanied and stay where you're supposed to be. But I didn't get married to be separated. You get married to be with the person you want to be with. Army is a close network, but you do get forgotten about when you leave. So it's out of sight, out of mind. You're just getting on with your life and you're plodding on, and you just have to readjust everything. You have to define who you are, because you're no longer an army wife. You're now a civilian. You might still be married to a soldier, but it's not the same meaning when you're not living on a camp or an estate with other soldiers. There's not very much support for the families. There's loads for veterans. There's lots of different things for veterans. But as a wife, I wouldn't know who to approach, which is why I came to the Families Foundation. After losing my job in 2020 due to the pandemic, I reached out to the Family Foundation, which is where I met Donna, to help me rewrite my CV and put me on any courses that were relevant. So I've done the safeguarding course, and I'm looking at the mental health course that's coming up. But anything to help me with anything I can do to get me back into teaching would be fantastic. So in the space of the year of losing my job, I've redefined myself as taking control of my health. So I'm 2 stone down from last year. I do fitness 3 times a week running, but I do at least 10,000 steps a day to make sure that I don't put my weight on. I've taken control of my diet, so that's why the weight's staying off and coming off slowly. Next step now is that everything's getting back to a bit of normality, is to try and find the job I want. The last year, I know it's been bad for a lot of people, but honestly for myself, it's probably been one of the best years of my life.
So I was a military child. My dad was in the RAF, and when I was about 3, we moved out to Germany. So I spent a good 5-6 years of my life in Germany, which was amazing. And then we moved back to the UK, and we lived in South Wales till I was basically old enough to run and leave. Because being a military child, I had the military humour and the military upbringing, and nobody in the school understood me at all. So I was 15 and a half, nearly 16, and my mum signed the contract for me to join the army. Originally, funny enough, I took the test to go for the RAF because I wanted to do exactly the same as my dad, but I didn't have the qualifications or the skill set really. So the lovely rep at the army swooped in and mopped me up and said, "You could be in the Royal Signals." And I was like, "Wow, that sounds exciting." And they were like, "Yeah, you'd be a driver linesman." And I drove great big petrol tankers, and I laid really long cable, and most of the time sat in the rain, which was awesome. Because as a 16-year-old who was a bit of a tomboy, I absolutely loved it. I really enjoyed the fact that it was an extended family, and nothing was taken too seriously. As much as it was a very serious job and a very serious role and everything, it was very much work hard, play hard. But everyone looked after each other, whereby I'd gone from school where, I had to watch my back, to suddenly other people watching my back for me and looking after me to a certain extent, and it was lovely, and it brought back all the memories of me when I was a kid, when I lived in Germany, because I got my posting to Germany because I was top of my class. I got to pick where I wanted to be posted. So I left the army once I did my 5 years. I gave them my notice, and then stuff happened, so I ended up getting medically discharged. I applied for the job with the Family Foundation as a family support officer because they were looking for veterans, specifically veterans with life experience. So I applied for the job, got the interview, got very personal in the interview, which they loved because they could see that it was all me and it was real, and I could relate to other veterans. And I'd been through what a lot of the veterans had been through that have been helping, and it was amazing because I got the job. Through the Family Connectors project, which is my main project, helping veterans and their families and carers with CV support, so rebuffing their CV, getting how the employer wants it, job searching so they know which areas to look for, interview skills because not everyone knows how to do an interview, getting them onto courses with ourselves, so they've got that extra qualification that 9 times out of 10 they've already got, but they just don't have the bit of paper to back it up, and we've been able to help with that, which is amazing.
I joined the army at 16, went into the Royal Welsh, and kind of from there my first posting was to Cyprus. They just got out there, and basically that's where my military career started. So I did a few tours of Afghan, and in 2010 I got seriously injured in an ID strike, basically, which I received a large shrapnel wound to my head and to my right leg. So in that sort of process, they managed to save my limb in the interim, repair all my sort of damage, and basically from there I redeployed back to Afghan, which was an experience. It was I needed to do it for myself, but I needed also a bit of closure as well, So from there, my injury kind of took over again, and I ended up getting medically discharged after 8 years service, and I found myself in Civvy Street, and it was a strange transition, It was hard. It was really hard, That transition was scary. It was all of a sudden I've lost a family, I've lost everything, and I'm injured at the same time. So I was like, I had to put my focus into something else. So I ended up having a couple more surgeries and kind of getting fit again, and I ended up transitioning into close protection. I just hit a point while I was over there thinking, like, what am I doing here? I've gone through this, I've kind of gone through a semi-transition into Civvy Street, and I kind of threw the towel in and went back into that sort of military environment. Yeah, the money was great and things like that, but I really needed to square myself away, to sort my life out, and thinking this isn't going to be forever. So I ended up handing my contract back and just saying I'm sort of out, and moved back to sunny West Wales, really. It's been a hard journey for them. I'm not going to lie, out of all the crap that I've had to deal with, it's probably been 10 times worse for them, because I've had to focus on me to get myself better and things like that, but they've had to pick up all the pieces, and sometimes it's easy to forget that, so when people come up to you and go, oh, you must have been through a lot, it's like, yeah, you should speak to my wife because she's been through a lot more, bringing up my children, bringing up, watching me walk out the door multiple times, not knowing if I'm going to come back, that's a big burden to carry around on you. And the job of a caretaker manager came available with Woody's Lodge, and So I thought, I took a stab in the dark, and the missus turned around to me and said, "Oh, why don't you apply for it?" So I chucked in my CV, and funny enough, it was my old close protection CV, so it didn't have any, that kind of stuff, and I kind of put it in and sat the interview, was successful, so I was like, right, okay. I felt I'm at an opportunity now where I can give back. I can use my life experience and my trauma to give back to other people, and help them through their journey, because everybody's different, and it doesn't matter how many people sort of say otherwise, every situation's different, and I was like, I'm ready now. I'm ready to sort of give that back to them, to help them through their journey. Having that ability to sort of do courses with the Family Foundation and things like that has really helped me progress. I would have struggled before to try and paint a picture of it, but having that training really put it into context really quickly. I think you should get the support straight away. I think you should look at it, and it's worth the plunge. You've got nothing to lose but so much to gain from utilising courses like the courses that you offer. So, and potentially it could save somebody's life. It can, and there's no question about it. Whether you do the emergency first aid, whether you do the safeguarding, whether you do the mental health first aid, it's all relevant.
I spent a couple of years working on a naval base in Portsmouth. That came about because I'm a Sea Cadet instructor, joined at 12 and never left. Absolutely love it. Keeps me really, really busy. On top of working and volunteering, don't get a lot of downtime, but absolutely love it. So my name's Becky. I work for the Family Foundation as the project trainer on the Family Connections project. What drew me to that role? It was a nice balance between what I was already doing in terms of training, but also because of my connections with the armed forces, I felt it was a really, really good fit. And it's one of the best decisions I've ever made to get involved in the project. I found that actually, people in the military, yes, they've had lots and lots of really good quality training that doesn't necessarily translate into the civilian world. So those qualifications they've got on are always recognised. So we find a lot of people coming to us to kind of top up on their existing knowledge and have it formalised. It's been nice to see people achieve and see the direct benefits of the job that I'm doing. On this project, our most popular course by far has been mental health first aid, which I guess may be an indicator of where the society is at the moment, followed by safeguarding, because we find a lot of our client base, a lot of our veterans and their families, a lot of people are looking to change careers, and they're looking at, a lot of them, when you talk to them, say they want to give back to the community, give back to society, so they opt to do things like safeguarding, because that's mandatory for anybody working with a vulnerable client group.
The Family Connectors project has been running for a year and has had a massive impact on so many people's lives. We started off the project in a pandemic, and we didn't know how things would roll because of what was happening in the world. But the Family Connectors project has been a really important support for many families in the last year who've undergone challenging circumstances with loved ones who've struggled to cope with mental health, issues related to PTSD, and anxieties due to obviously restrictions and not being able to have their usual routines. So I think it's been really important for us as an organisation to be there to provide that emotional and mental support, to provide sort of well-being help, and also giving people the opportunity to access skills and training that they wouldn't have ordinarily possibly had the time to do. So my role within the Family Foundation has been as a project coordinator for the Family Connectors initiative, and it's been a really, really interesting job for the last year. Although the Family Foundation as an organisation have supported veterans, their families and carers and extended family members for over 5 years now, and it'll be something that we continue to do. We believe that it's been really important to have delivered the project. We were very thankful to the Armed Forces Covenant for their funding because it's made a real difference to people. And just from that point of view of receiving letters or emails and feedback from people that we've been able to support and help, just telling us how that has impacted upon their lives, from accessing work, better employment, or even just helping them just to feel that they've got some confidence back that they'd lost. And that for me has been a really important measure of how successful this initiative has been. And we're very grateful to all those we've worked with, collaborated with, our funders and our team who've been relentless in their quest to help people. From project trainer to family support officer, to volunteers that have worked with us. We've had a really engaging group of people that have been on this journey across a year that has been like no other year. And we hope that in the future we can learn lessons from that.